Okay, we're recording.
I just wanted to start this off by asking how you and Frank Marbury got together to start doing the historical work that you did here in the county. How did you and Frank get started
Well,
on
it
this?
started with Dorothy Hines and Frank. And I went along one time and they weren't able to get rid of me after that. And then Dorothy dropped out and it was Frank and Helen and I. And we always took Helen along because even when she was in the beginning of her problem, illness, she could still add and subtract and she could come up with the age of these people faster than Frank and I could put together.
So she was kind of like a secretary when you guys went out to the cemetery?
No,
She took the notes, or?
I usually took the notes because I was going to type them up. But we'd see somebody born such and such a date, died such and such a date, and she'd say, he's that old. And I'm sitting there thinking, 1 and 1 make 3, and things like that. But we always took her along with us as long as we could. Well, the first thing I want to say is, if you haven't gotten this book, and I think most of you have, it makes a real good file for cemeteries. There's cemeteries in there that we know about. There's cemeteries in there I've never heard about. But it doesn't have some of our cemeteries, and it doesn't have meets and bounds, which means you're sort of guessing sometimes when you put a cemetery in. So, that's my first thing. And what got me off going, I suppose all of you saw this article about the old Mount Olive Cemetery.
Mount Zion? Yeah.
No, Mount Olive.
Mount
Mount Zion, I beg your pardon. So I hot-footed it over there the other day, and they're doing a real good job. They got down to where you can see the tombstones. A lot of them are laying down.
Mm-hmm.
They've left the trees, and there weren't trees there when Frank and I went in. And we went in and we started looking around, and the feeling we got was that we backed off. You take care of your own, and that wasn't our own. So we just left that one sitting there and never did any more about it. And they didn't do anything about it either. But the interesting thing about Mount Zion is the fact that many of the families in there must have been a caste system of first-class citizens and the outdoor slaves and things like that, because many of the first-class citizens were related to those who were buried down here at Tunnel and at Valley Mining, and then came out, and some of those came out of Fredericktown. So there was this type of mixing of the families. So I went by and I talked to the men there, and as I say, they were burning, and they were muttering about the stumps that had been left there that the Shapiros had cleaned out about 25 years ago. And that they said they were going to grade the road so you could drive up around and things like that. And then I went by and saw the Rankin Memorial Cemetery up in Herky, which I'm not quite sure what it is. It's a Negro cemetery, it's a white cemetery, and I think there might be an Indian cemetery, because there was an old black gentleman that lived in the house right there by the cemetery that I talked to some years ago. He said as a child he could remember a full group of Indians in full regalia coming in to bury somebody there. But they've cleaned that up, and it's, at least you can see where the tombstones are. But I don't think I think there's a lot of tombstones and a lot of graves missing. Yeah. And then I followed through down to the Boyce Cemetery.
Now, where's this one located at? I'm not familiar with that.
Now, Gabriel Boyce's family was brought into Jefferson County by the Boyces as a slave. And when Sally Boyce married Donald, he went with her as part of her dowry. And they turned him loose Civil War, and he tried to join the Army, and they wouldn't take him. But they gave him a certain amount of money when he was freed. And in 4 years, he owned 263 acres of what is now downtown and South Jefferson, Festus. He built himself a huge house, had a terrific amount of slaves, went down to Fredericktown and got his wife, who was a slave, married her. And there are still Boyces floating around in the area. One of them got loose in the Recorder of Deeds office about 7 or 8 years ago, and she got through with that Recorder of Deeds office, and what they hadn't shown her, they were in deep shock. But you know when you come down Festus and you go down Adams and it goes down and up the hill like this.
South?
South Adams.
Yes.
And there's a church right here.
Uh-huh.
Well, you circle around and go back in there.
Okay.
And it's right up behind where the
rent-a-car place is?
yes.
Yes, okay. Then I know what's that.
And it's still there. I was talking to one of the men down there.
And what's the name of that one?
Boyce. B-O, they call it Boise down in Old Town. And we have done it. It's in, but it's and it hadn't been kept up. I understand from what I was told.
Jean, going back to Mount Zion, was there a church there?
I don't know.
The information I have, it was right across the street from looking at some deeds or something. There was a church right across the street, and that street was old, was it 61 Highway?
Mm-hmm.
It was the main highway. It's now a side street, like I guess.
Well, they cut it off, and where CC turns left, and this turns right, and it goes down, and it stops right where 55 cut it off. So you go on the other side, and that will take you down to the Gannon Shopping Center, places like that.
Yeah.
But as I say, we got a very cool treatment there, and we just decided we better not mess with something that wasn't, where we weren't wanted.
Well, now, is there another black cemetery in the Crystal City area? Or are the
don't know.
people, the black people from that Crystal City area, are they buried at Mount Zion, or?
Betty, we don't know. We haven't been able, nobody has read the tombstones. But we do know it was black, and that some of the people, the blacks in Twin Cities, were related to families that were buried down here at Tunnel and Valley Mines, and then that some of the same type of people were buried from Fredericktown up there. There was an intermingling of those two areas that met in the middle. And but that's all I know. The cemetery at the Valley Mining area, I don't know how much is left. You go down to where the buildings were, and then you turn right and walk up the hill about a quarter of a mile. And there were tombstones up there when we went up there.
Now, is that the one that's considered tunnel?
No.
Or not? That's a different one. Okay.
It's, this is where Valley Mining Company had their headquarters.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you see two chimneys there. And I asked Mr. Harlow about that, and he said, yeah, that was a nice house I had, old house, and it had a chimney on either end of the house. And he says, I raised the rent for my people that was renting it from $5 to $10 a month, and they got mad and burnt the house down.
But the man who is now working on Valley Mines and doing a lot of putting up of signs, there is a sign down there when you go back into where the old town was, that says Cemetery Road, and the road does go up the hill. Now,
That
we
would
didn't
be
drive up there, but the sign is there to say that
Well, we
that's
walked up
Cemetery
there.
Road.
They didn't have signs in those days.
Well, there's
when
a
we went.
road now.
And we walked up there. And as I say, I'm not quite sure whether Valley Mines is in Jefferson County or not. It's right on the edge,
Yeah.
just the same way Tunnel is.
Okay.
And
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
go ahead.
How do you get to the tunnel? Do you remember how to get to the tunnel?
You have to walk down the railroad tracks.
From Valley Mines, from
Mhm.
Highway V, there?
Hmm.
Okay, and I guess there's a tunnel there?
Yes, there was a town, and there was a tunnel.
So the cemetery, is it on top of the tunnel? I think I might have heard
I
that one
don't
time.
know. Frank, we went down there one time, and we were on the south side of the tunnel, and Frank went west up in the woods and said, I found it, and came back, and we left. So,
Did he record it, do you
no,
remember?
we didn't record it, but it's up in there, it was up in there sometime,
So at Valley Mines, you would walk north on the tracks,
south,
south on the tracks. And wherever the tunnel is, it's somewhere in there
behind the south side of the tunnel.
on the south side of the tunnel.
No, is that the black cemetery you're talking about there at Valley Mines?
He walked west from the tracks then?
Yeah, it would
Walk
be
south,
west.
West from the tracks
Mhm.
to the cemetery.
West from the tracks.
Now, getting back to Rankin, of course, as I say, this old black gentleman said the Indians came in, but it's also where Charles Rankin, the founder of Peavey, was buried. So I don't know whether you can still find his grave in there. or
Oh,
not.
yes. See, they've just cleaned all this. There's
It looks
a
pretty
new
good.
little historical society in her lane.
Oh, is there?
Yes, a group of sort of civic-minded ladies.
Well, there was one place where there was a fence around a group of tombstones, and the fence was broken, so it was just piled like this,
Right.
you know. And then there was I didn't get in there.
It was-
And Rankin has a large obelisk, doesn't he?
I don't know if that was Rankin or
Didn't
not.
they cut down a tree limb and it knocked it
Yeah,
down?
some guy went
And
crazy
there
with a
was
chainsaw.
somebody else that's rather well known in
Almost
there.
got some
Put it
that-
back
people
up.
while it was
But
there.
I didn't, as I said the other day, I was just looking and wondering how bad they were, so I went past there.
Yeah, well, they've cleaned up
That was
the
last
brush.
spring that
Now, if
they
any
went down and
monuments took
cleaned
a
up.
hit in the process, that probably
Mhm.
happened too.
Well, I can believe that because when we were in there, the bushes, grass was at least waist high,
Mm.
and
I have helped down there a little bit cleaning up, and they said that somebody's, I don't know who it was, they more talked about one time they had Boy Scouts help clean it up. They took a lot of the stones and threw them over the bank. Pieces.
well, now I'll tell you about that. You all sort of think the cemeteries are very holy. You're very careful of them. In Crystal City, where Old Man Oaks, I don't know whether any of you knew where he lived.
Where would this be? Can you demonstrate?
Is that
Yeah.
Is
You
that
know where the
Ridge
high
Stick?
school is, and you go down the hill and come up like this,
Okay,
and there's
so
a
Ridge
house
Stick.
The Crystal Hike, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
sitting way back.
Mhm.
Well, old Mr. Oaks was superintendent of Pittsburgh pretty fast, and he was a terror from what I understand. But Frank told us when he was a boy growing up, they used to go up in there, in that field there, and use one of the tombstones as a home base, and then you'd go play baseball around there.
Mm.
So when Mr. Oaks bought the property, he just took a bulldozer and pushed all the stones over the side of the hill. And people, and some of the kids can still find tombstones down in there. And it was a German, wasn't it? I believe it was a German.
That'd be Julia's dad.
Yes. Don't tell anybody I said that.
That's kind of common knowledge.
Julia's
Right.
daughter and I are good friends.
Well, there was that one. Then when you go up to Herky, where Dunklin Cemetery is, and you come back, the main road goes this way, but you can see where there's a dirt road that sort of goes off. That was the old road into Herky. And in between there was a cemetery, but somebody just dumped a whole bunch of dirt
Now-
in it.
Let me ask you on this. Okay, you're going in, you make a left off 61, and the main road goes to the right, it goes down by the Artesian,
No,
and the
you
bridge.
you take the road off, yeah.
but you go to the left.
You go to the left down Dunklin Drive.
Okay, well, Dunklin Drive
Right,
comes
right.
off of that road.
Yeah,
That
Go
first
down that
left
road a little
is
bit
what
and then
Frank
take a
lived
left.
off of,
right.
and goes down to the mill, to the smelter.
That's right.
Okay, but
And there's a
Dunklin Drive
cemetery
goes
down
off
there.
to the left.
Yeah.
Okay, so now where
It
was
goes
this?
down along the river.
Mhm.
And also there was a shot tower down there too.
Yeah,
No, that's not Dunklin Drive, that's Joachim.
Is it?
they
Joachim
changed
Drive.
the name now.
Dunklin Drive is just that little tiny street
Strip.
that comes off at the top of the hill
And
and goes
dead ends.
back the ridge to Dunklin's grave.
Well, that's the one I'm talking about.
Just that little ridge drive.
But when you come back, you turn around and you come back,
Uh-huh.
the main road goes like this. the road you came in on,
Joachim.
Joachim. But there's an area here that
In the-
looks like a V,
Okay, yes.
and the dirt road goes off this way. And it's in
Toward the
between
river?
those two, huh?
Toward the river?
Yes.
You talking about Liberty Street?
No, you're not back. You're only just a wee space down from the Duncan's grave.
Okay, well, see, there's all houses in there now. It's all changed
Well,
up in there.
yeah, one of what is it? Dennis Tesserola's in there.
Mhm.
You
Well,
turn
it's-
down that Dunklin Drive, and that takes you back to there's high school buildings back in there too.
no,
No.
that I was wrong on that. It's the road that goes back to Dunklin Cemetery,
Okay.
Up those graves.
to the
That
grave.
dead ends.
It
Yeah.
dead ends.
Mhm.
And incidentally, that's an interesting. When I worked for the park system, we were checking that because it had just become a Missouri State Park. And what had happened was the Duncan family gave it to Jefferson County, and the description went, you went from a white oak tree, which I have a piece of, down to the river, along the river, back up the hill and over to the white oak tree. So they used the same description when they gave it to Jefferson County. And then they used the same description when Jefferson County gave it to the state. But there's only one problem there.
White Oak, huh?
No, the railroad tracks go through there, and there is no right-of-way. And so really now the only part that the state owns is the little fenced-in grave. And the rest of this, I don't know what they've down there, but they had to put a right-of-way in for the railroad.
Mhm.
Because this grave was made, I think, in 1890, and the railroads came in 1895.
Yeah.
But they just didn't change the deed at all. So that's the Tilden Cemetery that's not there.
That's the one that's gone.
That's the one that's gone.
And that's on the drive that goes back to
It's in
Dunklin.
the V. It's in the V there.
Okay, I don't remember a V there.
Well, there's a clearing and it looks like a swale where there could have been a road.
Okay, I'll find it. So that's Tilden?
Tilden. And I've got something in here about them. Then there's supposed to have been one in Festus that I haven't been down in Old Town Festus called the Porter Cemetery. Do any of you know about that?
Porter, I've heard of it. And
Well,
this
the
is in downtown Festus?
Well, it's in Old Town Festus. You know, where
Which is-
Lucas,
Well, that would be that there off of Beffa Drive. There's the cemetery back in there that would be
That's-
behind the
no,
Enterprise
that's the
Car
Boys
Wash.
Cemetery. Oh, the car wash. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
up in there. And
Um,
I couldn't find anything,
thought-
nobody
Now you-
knew anything about it. The
Oh.
only person that told me about it was Opal Johnson down here.
Is that Crystal City or is that Festus?
That's Festus.
No, I'm lost here.
You know where the Festus parking lot is? The big lot behind the store.
Sure.
Then there's the creek.
Uh-huh.
And then there's a bluff.
A bluff.
And it's that part of the bluff, the end of the bluff there someplace.
And this is called Porter?
That's what, oh, if there's a woman here in town by the name of Opal Johnson, and she's the one that told me about it.
Opal?
Mm-hmm.
And that's in Festus?
Mm-hmm, South Festus.
Okay. And the cemetery is next to the creek on this little bluff?
It's not there.
It's gone.
It's gone.
There's houses.
Okay,
There's houses
There's
and
houses
things
in-
like that.
okay, but that was called Porter.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Of course, DeSoto has the classic non-cemetery.
Uh-oh.
Has the what?
Classic non-cemetery. The one out here, you know the road that goes from out to the Elks Club?
Is that Clark?
Clark. Well, between 6th and 7th, one block west of Clark,
Okay, wait a minute now. Let me catch up with you. Clark, between 6th and 7th?
you go up there and it looks like a row of motels. It's a bunch of efficiency apartments. And a contractor here in town owned it and decided to put those apartments there. Only there was a cemetery there. And I don't know how he did it, but he convinced somebody he was only going to go down 12 inches, and the graves are 18 inches, so he put the apartments on top of the cemetery.
I think Rudy mentioned that, didn't he?
That was what was called the Manus Cemetery, and they moved
Manus.
the few stones they could find out to what is now Hope United Cemetery out there in 67. The few stones that they could find there. I understand there were at least 150 burials there.
And there's still
But
some
the
people.
developers of it, and that's where we have Cedar Valley Apartments today. The developers of it said there was nothing there except 2 or 3 stones, and they moved those stones out to the other cemetery. But someone from the Manus family told me there were about 150 burials there. But
And Joe Giles fought that thing for years. He was an old character around town. Did you know him? Then the other thing I was going to mention today was the murder down at Moontown. They found, about 20, 25 years ago, they found a car in the middle of Moontown Cemetery with a dead man in it. He had been shot. You can find that in the newspaper.
I remember something.
And weren't we just doing cemeteries at that
Yes,
time? And that was one we were going to do or something?
And then they shot him.
Yeah, we decided not to go there.
We went
I
there.
have a question.
Yeah.
Do you know if the Ennis Lucas Cemetery is now Roselawn and Crystal?
I have no idea. There are Lucas cemeteries, but I've never known them with a first name.
Well, the reason I was asking, in the glass rays, they mention an Ennis Lucas Cemetery. And I spoke with Glenn Lucas, and he said that's what is now known as Roselawn.
Well, he might know more than I do, because I don't know.
Just thought I'd ask.
Then R.K. Barton gave us a chapter and verse on the cemetery on his property. That's the Smith Cemetery.
Right. And it's
And
no
it
longer
was,
there.
And people by the name of Applegate originally got the grant, and then there is Sneed, was it?
Speed.
Speed
Mhm.
came in and stole it from them during the Civil War.
And this was before the Civil War, from the information I have.
Well, and then the
They got it
people,
back. Yeah.
the Applegate people got upset, and came back in and went into the courts, and they finally got the property back. But R.K., who was one of the founders of this organization, has documented it with all who was who and what was what, and all the documentation, things like that. And as I mentioned earlier, over around Sandy Baptist Church, you run into Caesar Kirkhoff, who was the founder of Peabody Dairy. And he had 3 wives, all named Louisa. And he put one in a different, each of them in a different cemetery. Wouldn't that drive a genealogist crazy?
Well, maybe he could keep it straight which wife he was visiting.
Okay, the first wife is in
I put them
cemetery.
all in one place, so they couldn't do it all.
Right?
But I think one of them is in that Lutheran church that sits way, what is it,
Zion.
Jarvis Lutheran.
Zion Lutheran.
Zion Lutheran. And also in Sandy Baptist, we had if some of you will remember, we had quite a presiding judge in this county by the name of Martin Burgess. And it got to be a status symbol where you were buried in Sandy Baptist Church. The old Mosses and people like that got buried in the old part. Well, Martin diddled and daddled and didn't quite get his plot, and he got upset.
I've heard this.
Yes, right.
And he, and then they finally got indoor plumbing and did away with the old outhouse and filled it in. So that was an extra lot. And that was a proper place for Martin to be buried, if you know it.
That's a good one.
I heard this.
Right.
And the only other 2 I wanted to mention were the 2 out of the county in in St. Genevieve County, because so many of the people in Platten were buried there. There was the Lebanon Baptist Church. Did you get the ones up on the hill too,
Which one's that?
down at Lebanon Baptist?
I
They
haven't
had the
been there.
old one here, and then there's a road that goes up, and there's a bunch of them up here on
Well, I
the
didn't
hill.
know that, but I haven't done those because they're out of Jefferson County. I'm
Well, they're all your old families, the Weavers and people like
Oh,
that.
sure.
Berries are all buried in there. And then you go down to, what is it, Concord School Church Road, that runs into, and there's a cemetery in there,
Mhm.
where a lot of them from that part of Jefferson County are buried,
Mhm.
even though they are out of the county.
Yeah.
So, anybody have any questions?
Oh, I got a load. Have you ever heard of one? It's on, it'll be on 61 Highway. You know where the golf course is.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, on the south side of the golf course, there's that road that goes back to the Weaver house, I think, on the left.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a road to the right, just right across the street, and the first farm right there, a guy was telling me that there was some burials in there. I'm not sure the name of the
Well,
cemetery.
I didn't get a chance to look it up. But you come up Cole Road, and that's where Franklin and Louise Cole lived. You go around a little further, and there was a cemetery there, but there are no stones there.
Well, what I heard was some kind of a thing where a family was passing through the area
That's
And-
the Cooks.
and camped, and they died or something from some disease,
Yeah,
so they just
that
buried
was
them right
the
there.
Cooks down at the entrance to Rush Tower.
Cooks. Now, the only Cooks I know of is the one where the Laddie Boys is, or, you know,
No,
that
no.
restaurant.
That was some more of the family, but the original one is down behind what used to be the old school, which is a community center, cattywampus across from.
You talking about Rush Tower School? And there's that little cemetery right behind it there?
That's it. That's the Cooks.
Okay, I know where that one's at.
And Bill Weaver put that fence around it.
So that's the one where the people camped and died,
I
you
would-
think?
I think there's more to it than that, but I don't know.
Curtis, yeah, that's the Curtis family. Okay, yeah.
I've got some more in here.
Are all these people supposedly buried in that cemetery?
He only put the name of the father in, and then just the rest of them are there.
So, all of these people and these dates, there's dates of death. So they're all buried in Curtis, because our records, if I remember right, only reflect about 5 or 6 people in Curtis. I'm not sure on that. So that was the Curtis family cemetery. Okay.
Let me see if I can find some more of it. Of course, there's the Vineyard Cemetery as you're coming down 55, where the Shapiros scraped it off across the way from Gannon Cemetery.
Now, that one was supposed
It's gone.
It's gone.
Is it gone?
Yeah.
Well, that was a vineyard,
Yeah.
and he had his 3 wives with him.
Okay, now, do you know exactly where that was located, if he was from the area today?
Well, and
You know, you have that flattened off area where,
then it goes up a hill a little bit.
on the south side?
Is
On
it
the
on the
right.
right or the left of 55?
On the right.
If you're going south, it's on the
Mhm.
right.
And it would be south of the Do It Center.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Back up in there.
Okay, now right up on that hill, if there's a big antenna tower, you know, or electric tower, or radio tower, or something there, and right there across the street from that, that's where the church sat for Mount Zion, and right across the street is Mount Zion there. You know.
No, that's too far down. This is where the Vineyard Cemetery with his 3 wives were, and I've got the thing someplace, was right across the way from Gannon's shopping
So
center.
it was up closer to
Yeah,
A highway.
yeah.
Okay.
I don't think I have that in there.
Did you ever remember talking about, or did you guys visit one at, let's see if I get this right. If you know where the Laddie Boys is there, okay,
Mhm.
there's this little cemetery, that's Cook Cemetery, I think, right there. But if you're going south, you go back underneath 55, where,
That's the Nose Cemetery.
no, well, this one here, the one I'm thinking of, is,
It's through the cut and on the right. You have to go down the hill and up.
okay, I know which one you're talking about there. This one here that I'm thinking of, you know where they had that little roadside park at Grindstone Hill there, I think they called it, and there was a little roadside park with the shelter caves there.
Mm.
Right before you get to that, between that and 55, if you went up on the hill or something, Somebody mentioned one time something up in
I
there.
think they're talking about the Nose Cemetery.
So that would have been across the highway, okay.
Yeah.
That would have been over the hill.
Mhm.
All right.
And there's a bunch of people buried in there that built the castle.
The Selma Castle?
Mhm.
That built the castle.
Mhm.
They were workers, or
Yeah. Let's see if I can find that. Then there's a cemetery that nobody can tell me anything about.
that's what we like to hear.
You go down highway, it's down where Ollie Hayes' property is. Do you all know where that is?
It's south of 61.
Yeah, you come across from Rush Tower, you go under 55 or over 55, and you make a jog and you go down here. And Ollie lived in the old slave house here. You go around the curve, and then there's a road that goes down this way toward the creek. And that was the exchange place for carriages coming from St. Genevieve and Festus and the river. And there was a cemetery in there. There's a big mound, a big flat space. But there was also a town, you know,
Now, this
shop.
is right alongside the road, or
You have to go down this little dirt road.
do you think you could find that on your plat book? Roads?
No,
'Cause I have no reference point. I don't know.
I don't either.
Is there something you want me to look in here while she's looking for that one?
Oh, no, that's fine.
Okay.
So is this like in the Danby area,
Yeah,
basically? Okay.
it's, I think it's Highway A.
Yes, okay. Uh-huh.
And as I say, you go down.
Now,
and
there's a
over
wagon
here, there's
or-
a long house, and there's a couple of people buried alongside the house. Under
Just two people maybe, or?
Yeah, that's where Helen got bit on the nose by a bee one day.
I've heard of something down there.
Is
Betty,
there a
Betty,
stone there?
remember that? We
Stones
got
there for these
Yeah.
people?
Couple of
at the
graves
house?
next to a
I said there were
house.
2 graves, and I'm trying to think where it's
Pat
at. Dave.
Manus, and that would be her area down there. Is that her name, Pat Manus? I had some information on it or something.
That sounds like an interesting area. That road,
Here's
is
that
that road,
Tilden gizmo.
is that road still there where you said a
Oh, yeah.
road went from?
Because Mrs. Hayes
St.
lived
John?
down the road. No, I don't know.
Is this stuff on that disc we got, you think?
You can have that one. 'Cause I have an extra copy here.
Well, this we need too, because Curtis, I'm sure, doesn't
Elder?
have this many people listed in this.
Think she gives a copy of all she's got there.
Okay, here, real quick, because I know our records don't reflect all these people. I'm just real sure of that. So you and Frank just kind of, did you talk to people? How did you locate?
Oh, we
them?
always talk to people
Well,
when
yeah.
Frank went with us.
Dave, what kind of a question
Yeah.
was that?
I'd start out when I was working for the park department and be going to do some research, and I'd say, Frank, you want to come? Oh, sure. Well, we'll just stop and see so-and-so for 5 minutes. And at the end of the day, I hadn't seen the people I went with.
Yeah, we can make copies of all of that. I run through the scanner.
You said that you found another stone over here by my house on that back road beside the Civil War.
By,
The old.
oh, the O'Hara Cemetery. You
is
don't
that what
have
it
one.
is?
Yeah,
This Charles McNulty of Company A.
that was the one at 110 and 67
Yeah.
right there. Yeah, that
Mhm.
was that one. That Charles.
But you
McNulty.
said there was another one in there?
There was a guy told me that he's seen that when he was a kid, and there was another one. There's a tree right next to it. Right behind the stone is a tree, and on the other side of that tree was the other stone. And I didn't notice it when I was out there, but I didn't check real close for it. So
Well, I
but
think
there's
I've
supposed to be-
seen another one in those.
there's supposed to be another stone there.
Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you
Civil
another
War?
place where there's
No, I don't
supposed to
think
have
so.
been.
It's regular burial.
The Historical Society of Indiana came here because the Indiana militia was down to Pilot Knob, and they decided to go home after the battle, and they died all the way home, and they would bury their people. And there's supposed to be 3 graves behind the old, it's on, Pounds, it's on,
Is this where that Woolly Wally's? If you go down
back
67?
in there, but it's on the other road. It's on the extension of CC,
Pounds Road?
Pounds Road?
Pounds Road. And, there were two brothers in there.
That's not far from
a
Gannon's,
guy told me-
Gamble Cemetery then.
A guy told me about some Civil War graves that were dug up by somebody he thought was Washington University. And it was right behind that Woolly Wally's, right around
Yeah.
67, and some cedar trees. There was no stones or anything, but there was like 6 or 7, he thought. You
And
know.
they were a military they were buried in a military fashion.
Okay.
And but I can't come up with the name of the family. 2 families that lived there. They were the most upstanding families, but one of them got mad at an FBI agent and hit him in the nose. And
It wasn't kosher.
well, the man was being obnoxious, and this man was being polite as long as he could, and he finally said, "Fiddle on you," and popped one.
Got his attention, huh?
But there were 2 or 3 down at the end of their property, which would come in by Willie Wally's.
Okay. That's probably the same place, I would think.
I never had thought about it going in that way. I had always gone off Pounds Road, but they were supposed to have been from the Indiana.
I heard that, and also I had heard about some
But
guys,
there's big subdivisions in there now.
yeah, some soldiers dying up around the Bushburg area, up around Rattlesnake Creek up there, and supposedly they were coming through, and some of them died and were buried along there, and some guy was looking for them. And the only thing that I could, you can't find anything there, you know, like that usually.
Dave, here are the Valley
This
Mine
wasn't in that
cemeteries.
red book you had, was it?
That's a listing of them.
Yeah, there's 3 graves they got.
Now this is the one that's in
Up
the
in
old
the
town
hill.
and up on the hill.
Yeah.
Okay.
If it is, I've got it, but
Here's,
if not, I haven't.
So do we have all this?
here's the Wagner Cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
You go down on Wagner Road,
I've heard of it. Haven't been there yet.
and just past the bend, there's this long, old-fashioned house, which was that was the slave area.
Now, is that is this going back to where we're talking about the carriage
Yeah.
transfer area? So that you think that might be Wagner then?
Nobody knows the name of that place. I
Okay.
talked to some Donalds and one of them said, "Oh yeah, my dad told me all about it. I know all about it." And I said, "What's the name?" He said, "I don't know." And that's the story I get.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you ever recall mention down around the Rush Tower area of a Brewster cemetery? On some Brewster land or something down there?
You're not talking about Buster, are you?
No, this was William Nose told me this down there. His father or something was hunting back in the woods on one of the ridges or something. There's something back
There's
there. There's Griffin on Nose's farm,
yeah,
and then there's Weaver up there.
and then there's these 2 this family. What's the heck is their names?
Wilcox.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there's 2 buried there. There's 2 buried on Dave
that-
Bidwell's place.
that's
and
in
there's
Howell
2 buried
Crossing.
out here someplace. They sort of buried them as they moved across the county.
yeah. Fortunately, I know a friend of mine. We go hunting down in that area together on cemeteries, and that's his family. And I haven't
Have
been
you
to
got
Wilcox.
the one down here near the Big River?
I'm sorry, what?
There's 2 more down by Big River someplace, or were.
That I don't know. I know I found the ones in Howell Crossing, which is
Mhm.
the farm you're talking about, probably. And he knew where the ones at Rush Tower were, and we're supposed to go there.
I have pictures of those.
He's got pictures too, but I still want to go there and locate it. And
They're up.
that well, you probably know him. His name's Albert Foltz. Foltz
sure.
Florist. Yeah, me and Albert run around together. But Wilcox is his family.
Well, I don't know which one of you 2 is in trouble.
Uh-oh.
But, no, there were 2 down, sort of facing the river,
And
up
this
on the
is-
hill.
This is in Jefferson County.
Yeah.
Along Big River?
No, Mississippi River.
Oh, that, yeah, he knows where those are. Did you mention 2 down around Big River, 2 Wilcox?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I don't know where they are, I just heard about it.
Now, Jean, did Frank ever take you to the John Smith T grave?
No, they're up on the hill, the castle's here, and then there's a sloop, and then there's a big bluff up here
To the north?
to the north.
Yeah.
And somebody's gotten in there, but the tombstones are in there, and you've got to get permission from the Lord to get up there.
It seems somebody, that prominent though, ought to at least be
Well, there's
recorded.
John Smith T. and
The son-in-law or something?
which Kennett?
Yeah.
One of the Kennetts is buried up there.
You know, I had seen a picture of that from someplace. I don't remember where. I saw a picture, and it was all dug out. They were looking for
That's
treasure or
Right,
something up there.
right, that was all dug up. That's-
Well,
But were there
that's
stones there yet?
the stones. Frank
Oh,
said the
I
stones
don't
were
remember.
there.
Some of
You
them
see,
fell
when I
down
was
in these
going out
holes.
I thought so too, yeah.
Right.
graveyard crawling with Frank, things like people's property was a minor detail.
Right.
He knew where they were, and you went.
I know he was there, because he said he spent a lot of time at the castle when he was in high school.
Mhm.
And the
Mhm.
caretaker down there would let the kids in the building, and they'd play the piano and
Go up in
have
the
a good
tower.
time.
Who was that owned the place?
Schoenberg? No.
No, it's the
Started
other
with an
one.
S? Was it a man?
Shop,
Shot?
shocks.
Shot?
Shots,
I think
yeah.
so,
Yeah.
He's the one that started the dairy, isn't he?
I don't know.
Well, Jefferson Heritage had that tour through there one year. And,
I know you can't even get in there now.
well, Frank got real friendly with the superintendent, and we were supposed to go back in there. Richard, what's his name, Richard something or other. And about that time, the old superintendent, president of Missouri Pacific had come in and built a house just inside the gate when he retired.
Rick Moran's wife lives there now.
Well, that's who I'm thinking about, Rick Moran.
Yeah.
He was the one that would take us in. And, but we had to pick our time to go in. It's, but you can't get in there now. I don't know whether Union Pacific and Mrs. Lewis still owns it or not.
Union Pacific owns it, and Rick's wife is still the manager of it, and I don't know whether she's ever remarried or not, but he died a few years
I
back.
know he did.
I went into it when Mr. and Mrs. Schoenberg owned it. My aunt's mother worked for Mrs. Schoenberg. She was the nanny for the daughters.
Mm-hmm. Well, it was interesting with that tour that we had through there because so many of the people who had gone through as kids came back to see it. And one of the they brought a whole bunch of railroad detectives in for the occasion. And one of them told us that they would probably have to keep them there for a year just to keep the people out that had heard about the tour.
Now, wasn't that tour sponsored by this
Yes, it was. We
organization?
made $8,000 for crying out loud off that
Yeah,
one.
but I don't remember the year. Was this about 82 or 83 or 84 that this happened?
At least. No, it wasn't 84. It was
Yes,
much earlier
yes,
than
because
that.
I've never seen an invitation or a ticket. I went on the tour, but I don't have any of the paperwork.
Well, I
Maybe there
know the
wasn't
sheriff's,
any.
the
Oh, there's
sheriff's
all
office.
kinds of paperwork we
Is
got
there?
in our
Oh,
files
okay.
in here, yeah.
Okay.
I know that
Mhm.
wasn't it the sheriff's office that we conned into running jitney service from the road into,
Jefferson College,
was it Jefferson College?
they brought their vans down, Dr.
Henry did.
Henry did that.
Mm.
And because the ground was so soft that they wouldn't let us in. And the thing that impressed me and was silly is where, you go in houses and they have little red cords across here so you can't go in. They had red satin ribbons.
Mm-hmm.
And Eleanor Coyle, historian out of St. Louis, caused us a lot of trouble because she went under the red ribbons and went several places where she wasn't supposed to go. And we heard about that one. But they'd only allow us 250 in the morning and 250 in the afternoon for 2 days.
sold out, I remember.
Oh, my word.
Yes.
But it was an experience.
People said, well, save my name for next time. I still have some postcards somewhere of people who wanted their name saved if it was ever
Well,
on
I know
tour again.
the Historical Society of Potosi was talking about going back in when we had our next tour about 5 years ago. We didn't know we were gonna have a tour, but that was a minor detail.
I think we
How much?
want to, but it doesn't. It
How
never
much-
happens, does
How
it?
much did a ticket cost?
So Dr. Henry worked on that for a
About
while, trying to
$5.
get,
Greg used to work
I was
down there.
thinking like 10.
Yeah.
Maybe it was, I don't know.
trying to get Union
And then
Pacific
Grant
to
done
let
the
us,
shoeing
you know,
for him.
do it again, but,
Right.
We went through Marion Piper, I think, in Vernon, and he knew the vice president of Missouri Pacific and Union Pacific, and that's how we got in. But, and one of the things that they told us, Luciana worked down there on that time. And we, in one of the little bay windows, there was a beautiful little, about two-person couch or sofa, real ornate. And she was admiring it. And I guess it was Frank again that did it. He walked up and he said, let me tell you about that one.
Mm.
He says, Mrs. Schock was over in France, and she saw that, and she just thought that'd be the ideal place to bring that piece of French furniture back and put it in that little window. And he said she gave the people packing hell, because she told them each place to put each piece of paper and everything like that so it wouldn't get damaged. And they got it back here, and she was there when they unpacked it. Well, it seemed that when they unpacked it, the bottom of the sofa came out first, and it said made in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Right. Tell that story. Right.
Do you remember too that they said there was a portrait just recently there hanging on the wall that Everett McGuire, the antique dealer in the Imperial area, had come up
Well,
with?
you left out part
And
of
they-
his background, didn't
Well,
you?
no. And they said that was a portrait of John Smith's tea. And that was newly pointed out on the wall.
The wallpaper they were so proud of in the dining room, you know, the only copy in the country. Well, they were wrong about that one. There was one in the White House for a while, and several other people told us other places where it was. So it wasn't quite as special as that.
It's a neat place.
Dave, here's the two people that are buried in the Wagner. Reuben Wagner, 3 people, Richard and Reuben Jr. And there's supposed to be slaves buried in the area.
Reuben Wagner and who
You
else?
can copy it. It's
Reuben
1797.
Richard and
Okay.
Reuben Jr.
I think there's going to have to be a field trip here.
Well,
2 or
from the
3.
looks of some of these things, they're just sitting out, like cemeteries I've never heard of. They're just sitting out in midair.
Did you guys visit the Swashen, or do you have any knowledge of Swashen Cemetery? Have you ever heard of it, or?
Well, Swashen is a local name for
Sure.
what?
Joachim.
Joachim.
Yes.
Well, have you heard of the Cape Cemetery out at Dripping Springs, or Dripping Springs Cemetery? That I've kind of tracked is probably the same. Did you guys ever go out there, or the
We
Dripping Springs
did.
Cemetery?
Frank and I did mostly
Yeah.
I don't remember if it was the cemetery, was it?
the east side of the state.
what,
Platten, particularly Jefferson.
Okay.
I mean,
So you didn't get over this far.
no, very little that we have done. Betty, did you ever get that? You and Blaine go up to that cemetery on the way out of town. You go up the hill. What was it? Miramar? Not Miramar. I told you about it one time. Somebody told me.
well, we went to the one that's down here off of Highway V,
Yeah.
back up the hill and
Yeah.
back up to that one, and,
What was the name of that?
McClellan, wasn't it? Joseph McClellan?
yeah, I think
No,
it was,
so it was a-
we thought maybe that
Yes.
was Swashen, but it was not.
No,
It was,
that's Robert McMillan, I think.
yeah,
Robert-
I think
Robert
it's
McMillan.
Robert, yeah.
So,
We think Swanson now and Dripping Springs are the same cemetery.
There's several cemeteries down in that area that have two names, which confuses me.
Mhm.
Good.
Go ahead, I forgot what I was
Have
gonna
you
say.
heard anything about Booth Cemetery?
Yeah,
Okay. Yeah, I just
that's
went
one
out
of
there.
those. That's one of those indefinite ones in the map.
Mhm.
It's on 67.
I've been there. I just been there a couple
Yeah.
weeks ago. So, did you ever hear any background on it?
No.
A story related to me about he was a steamboat or riverboat captain. And he stole the gold off the boat and he buried it outside his front door on the farm there. And that in the '60s, people from St. Louis were coming down and asking for permission to dig, and they were digging all around there looking for this gold or something, and the gold was already gone, used and stuff.
There's a story like that about Fort Hill too. That
Now, you
both
talking-
Judge Emerson and Dorothy Hines have told me about.
Okay, now that's one area of expertise for me. I can answer most of them up there. Yeah.
But Johnson?
The Smith Cemetery on Fort Hill property, is that what you're talking about?
No, this was. You've been to that Smith Cemetery, haven't
Yes.
you? No, this was.
You talking about a gold story?
Yeah.
Oh, about the gold being buried there and stuff?
Yeah.
I've heard all that. It's I don't think so, but yeah, I've heard it.
Well, Judge Emerson told it to me as sort of God's truth.
Well, the thing I think it could be is like after the Civil War, you had these organizations, that supposedly collected money in arms and things for the Second Rising of the South, and they could have, a local organization like that could have buried something up there.
Well, that's true. Have you ever been to the Aquinas Coal Cemetery on?
Is that right on TT?
Yeah,
Is that the one with the stone wall around it?
yeah, on the right going
haven't-
east.
It's near Charter Church.
Yeah,
Yeah, I haven't been there. I know where it's at.
there's the same name cemetery down in Washington County too.
A coal cemetery?
Aquinas Coal,
Oh, really? Okay.
but I got into it once, but I don't. We didn't do anything. We just were looking.
Okay, let me ask you on this McCormick Cemetery.
Which one?
This is the one that me and Jerry just visited. The one we was talking about a little earlier.
That funny little thing in the V.
Yeah, you go up the hill. It's on Platten School Road. You guys didn't visit that one.
We started to, and it was raining, so we left.
Okay. What it is I think it's a William S. McCormick's, I think, is
Yeah, yeah.
property, and it's there's like 4 tombstones. There's 3 kids and Jane,
it was.
his wife.
Have you been in what is it, Vic Wagner's cemetery?
Where is this one at? This
You
is
come
this
around Platten Road,
okay?
and you start up, and there's a jog in the road there, sort of a.
Okay, wait a second now.
And it's up here on these people's house.
Okay.
And they hadn't kept it up. It was full of briars when we were in there.
Okay, if you cross where the new bridge is now,
You don't go across.
okay, if you're coming from Platten School or that cemetery we
you're
just talked
coming
about.
off Highway CC.
Okay, and you're going down Platten.
You go down Platten.
You pass the church on the left.
You pass the church, and you circle around.
Circle around. You don't.
You don't go. And
Don't
you go
cross.
up, and I can't remember which way the jog goes now. There's a jog this way, or there's a jog this way.
It's to the left, isn't it? You'll know where she's talking about. There.
Yeah.
It's
I used
down
to
in
live
there.
Okay.
It's up here on the left.
You know where this is at then, Becky?
Wagner's lived right on the corner and then it jogged that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's jogging that way.
You guys know which way to jog. I don't.
We've talked about it before and we located it on a map.
Okay.
When we were doing the cemetery map, we located about where we thought it would be on the map.
Okay.
Is the Ivy Cemetery on 61 still there? You've heard
Yes.
about?
The,
Is it?
the 2 graves.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
there's
little
still
one under the tree, the hatchet.
I've got a tape that his grandson made for me when he was 90. We went up and talked to the old
The
gentleman.
grandson of the victim.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, I bet that would be interesting.
It's how.
They've just done some cleaning there, haven't they? It looks
Yeah,
much
somebody
better.
must
Yeah,
have
it's a-
taken over the place and really
Yeah,
cleaned it
they're,
up.
And you
Yeah, it
don't
was
have
getting
that
brushy.
in
The whole place was getting
the
brushy.
Yeah, they're redoing the house.
This
I
is-
talked to the guy.
Oh, did you?
Is that
It's
Okay.
right
It's in
across the
West
street
Westmoreland.
from where the auction house is,
Yeah.
north of Peevely, where Jim
It's on
somebody-
61. Go around that curve past the glass company.
Yeah.
Right around that curve, watch on the left, there'll be a road that crosses the tracks.
That's too far up.
A driveway,
Yeah.
little driveway, and there'll be a road that kind of cuts up through a green field. And right there's a big cedar tree in the field with a stones, little stone wall around the bottom of the cedar tree, and that's where it's at.
I'm pretty sure this one's in
And down where the glass
Has anybody
factory
recorded
is,
that?
Yeah, oh yeah.
I don't have that one.
oh, it's real interesting.
Oh, yeah.
It says, realize, rest in peace, my parents, Herman Yidey and his wife Agnes, née Stern, slain by a nigger.
Yeah, what it was a slave
There
killed
was
him.
a slave, and he'd been brought up by his master to talk to them, the Yideys, and saw the one that went to church with all the money on the table. And this man Herman didn't go. And he came out of the farm down where Foster Forbes is.
Okay.
And so he just went up and killed the guy, and got the money, and went back and hid in his master's barn.
Killed his wife also, didn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you have the story as told by the grandson, the family's story of this incident.
Mhm.
Yeah. 'Cause that was followed by a hanging, right?
Oh yes, in good
Kind of
speeds.
instantly,
Mhm.
yeah.
Now that would be a neat thing to transcribe and put in the newsletter.
Here, it says here about
This
the, out of Goodspeeds, about the year 1842, a Mr., and I was told it was 1844, a Mr. Yidey, living near the present village of Peevely, was murdered by a Negro who killed him for the purpose of getting his money. The Negro was not annoyed with a trial, as the citizens called him, and hung him until he was dead.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, immediately.
There's also another Yidey cemetery. You know where Emmanuel Lutheran Church Cemetery is? Right adjoining it is another Yidey cemetery.
Now, Frank and I did none of the commercial cemeteries.
The big ones.
The big ones, like the one in Festus up on Gamble Cemetery. That's 3 cemeteries in there. in case you're
4.
interested. 4?
There's a Christian, Presbyterian, Methodist, and Gamble. I've done Gamble and I've done the Methodist.
When did the Christians get into it?
Beats me.
But they're there.
They're there.
I'd always heard there were 3.
Yeah. Well, that's according to Herbie Vineyard.
Mm-hmm.
So, and they are separated up there. I mean, you know, sectioned off.
Do you know anything about the one in Crystal City, Old Town, where you go up there past where the old post office, I think was, and you made a right and it
Yeah,
kind of
it's
dead
up
ended.
there on the hill.
What, you
Yeah,
know anything on that one? Or
We were over there the other day.
were you-
Are
Is
there
that the
any
one that's so overgrown?
We were wondering if that was the Pittsburgh Cemetery, Pittsburgh Plate Glass
Well, let's see
Company
what it's
Cemetery.
listed. I saw it listed in here. the
It's,
other
it's
day.
got a wire fence around it.
Mhm.
And
It's,
you can see it
Are
when you
there
come
still
up Bailey and make the
tombstones
stop.
left
I thought that
Oh,
was
yeah.
Why
Crystal
would
City.
Pittsburgh have their own cemetery?
I don't know, but that's what I heard.
Well, now, Helen Maugry's father had the farm there, which is where Tom Hagen lived in that area in there.
But you can go on the backside of the cemetery by going down, turn onto County Road and it
Mhm.
winds back in there.
Mhm.
Or
That's
you
bottom
can
of the hill.
turn there by
Where
the print shop there
Yeah.
and you can go to
Mm,
the other
so-
side.
Yeah, there's no name for it in here.
Was that the one that was supposed to be so hopelessly overgrown?
It was in bad shape last I had seen it.
I didn't know anybody had ever.
Well, there where we were looking the other day, Sharon and I were over there, and of course there was no weeds or anything. It just was kind of desolate looking, but it wasn't.
And there
We
are
didn't
still
go out.
stones there.
Going in and out. Yeah, there's lots of stones.
Well, I think a lot of people, what Frank and I used to do was we had a probe about this long. Looked like a piece of, pipe or wire.
Rod.
Huh?
A rod.
A rod. And you'd go into a cemetery, and especially if you could see swales or you saw any plantings, you'd start prodding around on the west side of that. Because up until World War II, your cemeteries were always planted west to east. The head was in the west. That goes back to prehistoric times. But we would find tombstones all the time by doing that.
They're still buried back there.
You were looking for underground tombstones?
No,
Ones
tombstones
that fell over
that were
Not
knocked
rolled
over
over.
It
Knocked
isn't?
over.
and covered with dirt.
Okay, because I thought you
They're
were
every
looking for
which way.
vaults.
No,
You
no.
were,
When you
you were
go
probing
in,
for
there's
stones.
We were probing
stones
for
this way.
stones. We did that up on the
Stones this
Kin
way.
Street.
They're
Yeah,
Every
because the
which
older
way.
cemeteries wouldn't
Just-
have vaults.
No,
So you can squeeze them in.
okay.
but you
Some-
can often
Some
find
I see
tombstones
some
that
were
way.
laid out
Because
north
they
and
were
south,
mainly
some
the
of
thin
them
ones,
east
right?
and west, and
Those
some
old
facing
thin
west.
marble ones.
To me,
Even
anyway.
the
Keeled over.
the Catholic.
Well,
is
deer
more east to
slept in
west.
there, you
Yeah.
know, and they'd cover with
But
dirt
I
and
think-
leaves, and pretty soon it was flat, and you didn't know there was
I think
a
most
tombstone
of
in
the
it.
They
stones,
sink
the
over-
names are
over
facing
time.
west,
Yeah.
but they're
That would-
weird.
I've been waiting for a long time to ask about Dripping Springs. Dripping Springs shows up in an act of 1813. Has anybody seen this place called Dripping Springs?
Betty probably.
Is it like a rocky ledge where water drips, or what is? I've heard Dripping Springs.
It's a picnic area.
Is
I
it
think
a
was
church?
cool.
Is it a picnic
Well, it's
area?
all-
Is it a cemetery?
Well, wasn't
Is
there a
it
school?
town?
There was a
Dripping
church, a
Springs?
Is it a
cemetery, and
school?
this picnic, and a school, and this picnic area called Dripping Springs.
Yeah.
But it's all in the same basic area.
Does it still exist
Yeah, Rudy
today?
Belleville
Yeah.
spoke to us about
Yeah.
Dripping Springs, because that's right out there in his property.
Is it on his property?
Well, it's right there next to
Next
his
to it.
property,
Close to it.
yes, and it was quite a spring, and it formed there was a basin actually that, then water, and then, it was there on the other side of, I guess the west side of the Joachim, and you would go out there, and they had a picnic grounds out there. They had a lot of parties. People would take, group and go out there and take the picnic and climb the hill up there to the spring area and that big basin, and it was and then the water just kind of from that basin, just dripped down through the rocks there, and they called.
What's there today?
Same thing, I think.
Is it
Well,
private property?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
but
think-
but if there was a school and a church and a picnic area, what happened to all of that?
Gone. Right. The church, I really think the church, this is swashing, and getting into an area where the Baptist book says that the church was moved to the camp down in Potosi. Was it Bates Creek
Bates
Camp or something
Bates
like
Creek.
that? And made a tabernacle down there. So they moved the church. Church is gone. I think the school burnt down, or just was reorganized and out
Well,
of
there were a
existence.
couple of boys. The story is that there were a couple of young men who lived in that area that actually deliberately burned the school.
I understand Buckeye
The
School burned
cemetery
too.
is still there, but it's in really poor shape, what I hear, and that's the oldest pioneers of the county in that one, some of them,
Now, are there stones there?
Supposedly.
And have you found it? Have
Yeah,
you
it's been
found the
recorded.
cemetery?
I haven't been there. It's been recorded.
Who
we haven't-
recorded it?
Jerry Fleming and Betty Miller.
Yeah.
They were, and yes, it's, and Rudy says it's still there. He can take, it's not on his property,
So
it's
it's
the
a joint.
edge of his property, but he offered to, that we could walk all the way back to his property. And the people that live next to him, it's really on their property. And then if you go to their house, then you have to, walk back over there toward Rudy's. But it's still there.
It's still
Yeah, it
there.
was, there were a lot of
Pioneers.
Capes,
Capes,
Yeah.
yeah.
These
Cape
two
family.
folks that you named, were they ladies? Jerry Fleming, did you say?
Mhm.
And
Uh-huh.
Did they come from St. Louis? Were they with
No,
the
no, they're
St.
local
Louis?
ladies. Betty
Oh, they
Miller.
are. Oh, Betty Miller, you said.
Yeah, Betty Miller was
Oh.
in the society, in that time.
Yes.
She was a good friend of Elizabeth Skolderman's.
Because there are some names I see in the St. Louis Genealogy Society of people that came and recorded cemeteries.
Well, here's a bunch of them, but they don't tell where they are.
That's the cemetery?
Yeah. Did you ever get down to that piece of property that,
Oh, yeah, this is the St. Louis.
That looks like the St. Louis Genealogical
Yes,
Society
there
work,
you
yeah.
go,
down off of Church where, the Prices own that piece of property, that farm?
Yes, but I did both of those cemeteries up there. That new subdivision, we go up that hill.
Well, I don't know. where you go back in and
Yeah.
the house is here and there's a big hill up here
Yeah.
and the cemetery is up here.
There's actually two of them up there.
And there was one that had a hole in it because there's been various stories about whether that's where Jesse James buried his gold. And it was taken because there is a cave further on down the creek where they know he stayed after he went to St. Genevieve.
That one I'm not sure about.
And then you go on M across Charter Church and cross the field and up the field, which is the Fraser Cemetery.
Fraser.
And there were Frasers in this Price Cemetery. But that was what I'm talking about is the Rugley Cemetery down.
You never know.
Rugley,
There's-
I haven't been to. I think that's out of the county. I think. The one, the two up there in the Price's property, one of them is like 100 feet on the other side of the county line.
Oh, no.
I've
this
been
is-
there.
This is,
So,
not
but
that far down.
You just have to look. He's gone too
you're
bad.
talking the one off Dry Fork Road?
Just on the
That, was
pavement.
it Brook Hollow or?
I don't know what the name of it is, but it's not down as far as Laguna Palma or places like that.
No, well, it's back east of that.
Up the road.
Right, me too.
And,
You have to say it.
This is off of, was it DD, Double D Highway? And Charter Church and,
Yes, yes.
gosh, I can't remember the road there. I could show you maybe.
Well, Phyllis,
Nope, it's not in here, Zion.
Not under that name.
because the old settlers say that they think Squashin was a derivative of the French way to say Joachim.
It was Saint
well, now,
Joachim
here,
originally. I
But she
heard.
just always referred to it
Any
as
creek,
a
the-
creek. Any creek
Let me come down here.
I'm not doing
See,
that.
now
Of
that's
course, I've
another
got
way,
it.
then maybe that is the way it is.
now here's the Vineyard
99.
Cemetery.
Yes, I've been there.
I'm talking about this one up here.
Charter Church.
Seventy-two.
That's the Laguna Palma. No, I didn't know there was anything there.
You come down,
Oh,
there is
no.
Charter Church. You're not there, is it?
The chiropractor took care of that.
He worked on it a bit, and then I started
Seventy-two,
digging
it
into
says.
the information.
66.
Mhm.
I think it's 66.
Okay,
Oh,
this
try
is
that
what-
one.
can you pop it? Oh, that hurts. No,
Yeah,
just
see,
when
now
you
there's
say
the Fraser
stars
one.
and
The
it's
state-
loud.
Okay, see, I don't.
Did you get-
The cold.
Have you ordered
I
one
said I
of
didn't know there
those
was one here. I didn't know
books
there
from
was
the
one.
But then you
state
come down Charter
Charter
Church
Church.
DDR is putting
to
out?
No,
73.
I don't know anything about it.
Well, they're putting out a
And there's,
book
uh,
that
this is
gives
Charter
you
Church.
directions how to get
And then there's
to.
this little
They say every
road
cemetery
that goes off of it. And
in
you, I have a feeling that's
Missouri.
wrong on my part because it's a
Oh,
Rugley,
no.
but
That is a
Cemetery.
humongous
The
undertaking.
Rugley Road
Norma
is way over
Chooks
here
called
on the
me
other
and
side
I
of town.
ordered
Well,
a
it's
copy
pretty
of it.
far
It's
towards the river.
$43.
and
She said that the Jefferson
you go
County
in, you
thing
have to
was
climb the
basically
fence, you
done
drive
by
in,
this
the house
Betty
is
that was
here,
with
there's a
the,
barn
the
here,
Genealogical
there's a
Society,
lake
and they were
here,
supposed
and
to
then
be
there's this
doing all
high
the
node.
cemeteries.
Oh,
They
yeah.
basically used her
And there was
directions.
a hole there.
So
And
But how
I
much-
I've heard
ordered a
various
copy of
types
the
of
book.
things.
We'll see what it has.
I don't know how I got that.
But they, they were trying to get,
Rugley or not.
The genealogical book with the selfs or the Ewings.
the book won't be printed until May.
There's no
They're
I
just trying
think
to
I
get
remember
orders
where
now.
Rugley Cemetery
Yeah.
are notes, but I don't.
Golly, I can't imagine. Well, I guess it depends on what
Well,
you
now,
I've never been there.
constitute as a cemetery.
Yeah.
here's, this
They
is
may
the
be
Nose Cemetery.
just the largest ones.
That's
Yeah.
off
Well, that's what
65,
I'm
60.
thinking too, Lee, that I don't see how
You
No,
couldn't
they-
get
he
all
was
these
one
they
little
could have
ones.
gotten
We don't even
all
know
of
for
these
sure
Yes,
where
I
all
think
of
that's
them
the
are,
name.
much
Somebody
less
was
be
listed
able
in
to
the
give
book.
to them.
Considering there's over
Well,
two,
they-
David
Well,
has
they-
already
that was right
recorded
on
over
their-
200
on both
in
of them's
the,
property lines,
just in
that
Jefferson
cemetery.
County.
Okay.
And how many counties
There's
are there in the
Knoll,
state?
into the Knoll Cemetery.
Well, it's got to be what your criteria are
Down
also,
the river.
because sometimes, they just say there's a cemetery there, but there are no
Porter, yeah, I've been to
tombstones.
Porter.
Here's,
Unless you
That's-
dig up bones, you don't really
that's,
know.
um,
It's like
down in
up on a
Earl,
hill.
Toulouse's area.
with the colors. There's a cemetery there.
I guess they
There we
asked
go.
There's no headstones.
genealogical
There's just
societies
rocks
to
and
give
there's
them
little-
information. So
Charter
whatever
Society.
any
Yeah, that's
society
roughly down
sent
there.
them,
And
so the
Boyd-
Jefferson County
Boyd Ranch.
Genealogical
Yeah, see, that's
Society.
wrong, because Boyd
That's
Branch
your-
is, this
And they
Rugby
have
Road
records
is
of what was the
way
lady's
over on
last
the side
name,
of the
Betty,
county.
that, then they said she
Road
had
over here.
cancer and had to give it up.
Right there.
He was
Didn't get finished with all of
That's
her.
not
And I wanna get
That's not the one I'm thinking of.
our
that's
camcorder
right.
There was
to
a
go down and
road
talk
that
to
was-
But I
them
think
and
she's
want
gonna
to
include
do
the
that.
large cemeteries
You can get some
that
of
we
mine
haven't,
together
like the ones
You
can get
that are
Charter-
still
You can
being
find out.
Boyd
I'm
Years
not
ago.
buried
sure.
in,
Road.
and
He died
those
in
are not
1917.
difficult to
West and Boyd
find.
Yeah,
Ranch
those,
Road to the
those
first
would,
house
it would be
you pass
beneficial to have it because,
That's the road.
you know,
On the right.
if you've got people in different
this
counties
here-
in the
is
You
this the
got a
state,
same cemetery?
1970
it's hard
burial. You
to
can
sometimes
Because
get
this
out
one
there,
here-
like,
Right.
right now, I've been trying to get to
Yeah.
Wallace
This
Cemetery.
one-
But Norma said that
that cemetery gets
the
it.
instructions would be like,
I thought that
go
was
so many miles
off by,
south
44.
on Highway 67 to
No,
such,
there's
and
a
then
different
turn
one, but
left
this
or
is the
right or
one that,
such, and,
down,
you know, that kind of thing.
as
So
I
I
say,
think it could be.
It's this one here,
And
you
she said
think?
Yeah.
some
Down
of
this area.
down in
she,
that area.
what she is
No, we
seeing, some of
need
the
to
roads
keep
that they are talking about evidently have been renamed or they aren't there anymore or such. She said some of
Because
them,
I don't know that we have all this. do we?
even here in our county,
We went
He
through
writes
all
I
the
don't know,
things one
Jerry.
time.
how valuable it would be except to just look and
with
see if it's
Lisa,
anything
and that's
that we
when
don't
she
have.
had the map. I had given her the map when we had the meeting down at
97
school.
or whatever.
Mhm.
And she brought the
Went
map
to
up and
Mrs.
started
So-and-so,
plotting. And that's the last time I heard
address.
that map. But this
He's
is
keeping
what
a
whatever.
diary.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, these
Oh,
are
it's
like.
fun, you know, if you
But,
don't even want to do, I don't those books.
That's right, that's
George
good.
Price
It's
lived
good to
down
do
He
there.
wrote
that.
down a bunch of information
it's,
on
I
it
think
the other
it's
day, and
like
I'm
Basically,
gonna
that
take
we
it with
have.
me.
It came from
I haven't seen
Fraser's
this copy.
there, went over to this
These I
one.
haven't
Because
seen.
it's
I
in
don't
his
know.
handwriting. I don't know if he
Here.
wants it
Well,
back or not, I doubt it, but I'm gonna copy it, and then I'm gonna
You know,
maybe retype it. So he,
I can go out most any time. So,
I wanted to go
Well, I
to him.
can't.
well, I know
Maryland's
that.
when we
But
did
what
it.
I'm saying
I'm
is
going,
it
okay,
doesn't
what
make
kind
a
of questions
time.
do I
Sure.
ask?
Here's
You
one.
know, to get it.
That is in
Upper
my
Platten, west of
Part.
Charter Church, at the confluence of Frugal and Platten Creeks.
That's, yes, okay,
That's the
that's.
McMullen Cemetery.
McMullen, yeah, Joseph McMullen Cemetery, been there, yeah,
J.J. McMullen,
yeah. Joseph J. McMullen,
you know.
yeah.
Somebody in here had, Thompson had 3 wives in 3 years.
There's a Thompson Cemetery out there that Lisa told me about. I
We
haven't
tried
been
to
there yet.
find it, we never could.
Well,
It's up on the ridge above,
Lisa told me somebody took her back there.
Oh boy,
And-
this is the time of year to do this now.
yeah, the snakes are coming out.
Yeah.
Yes, this is the time.
Wear your boots.
March, April.
They don't bite
Those
too
are the
much.
ticks out. I got 2 ticks the other day. Did you get any ticks?
Not yet.
My dogs have had
I got
one.
2.
When we went up there?
Just going out
Had one on each side.
that warm day.
Already
No,
this year?
the Thompson Cemetery's,
We didn't have a hard enough one.
market.
Yeah, I know where it's
Rasmus
at.
is out,
Lisa gave me
trust me.
directions and stuff, but I just, I haven't been there yet.
Well, we went in to get them, and whoever was gonna take us that day wasn't home.
Uh-huh.
Let me ask you, is the bird cemetery gone?
No, it's still there, but it's in very, very poor condition, but it's
Well-
still there.
The farmer was going like this.
And yeah, he kept going closer and closer. It's hard to see. At first, I thought it was gone
I did too.
because we went down there. Me and Albert Foltz went down through there, and we were going to go over to it. And we looked out in the field, and it was like a little island out in the field. I didn't see it,
I know what you mean.
so I thought it was completely gone now. And so we went back. We was talking to William Nose. He said, "No, it's still there." So we went back down there the next week or something, and it is there because we were looking in the wrong spot. It was down a little bit farther from where we were looking. And we went over there, and I took pictures of I think there's only 2, 3, 4 stones left, and just there's trees growing up in it, and the trees are actually knocking stones over and stuff. It can still be seen from TT Highway, or T Highway, I guess it is, but it's
Well,
it's
we
in poor
did it,
condition.
and I think Jerry Fleming did it, because I've got a addition in here.
I took pictures of all the monuments we could find, but I think there was only 3 or 4. I don't think there was very many. that I
Well,
remember.
Did you get
That
the
was the
pictures to get
old-
the dates and everything?
That was the
Read 'em.
old Bird family, and I mean the real old Bird family that got the, what is it, survey 1245 or something like that.
Mhm.
And they married into the Johnsons.
Have you ever heard of another? I think it's a bird cemetery, and I believe it's before you cross the creek, in that field that Bird Cemetery is, there's a Benson Road that goes up the hill, and I think it goes back into maybe Platten School. And right up in the corner, there's supposedly a cemetery up in there, and I thought it was a bird cemetery. Albert was telling me about it.
Ask him, there's supposed to be a cemetery behind the big McCormick Cemetery.
You mean the one at Red Brick Plantation House? I haven't been to that one, but there's, well, I don't know. There's supposed to be a cemetery behind Red Brick. And then behind these, when we was out at the slave cabin, the
There's
McCormick,
one up on the hill.
there's one up there where I haven't been to that one. That guy was gonna take us up there one time.
Is
And
there
also,
any way
when
you can
you-
keep track of all of these, Dave, as we're
That'd
talking?
be
You make a
neat.
grid or something?
What do I
I mean,
do?
this is just, yeah, we
I
just
have
have
all these.
masses of them here.
Well,
So that
I
when
have,
you're in an area, you know that you're only so far from these other ones too.
well, because I do it so much, I know it, but, yeah.
Well, that's the way I did. I used
Yeah.
to know.
I try to keep files on it and stuff. So.
What's the cemetery across the street from the old McCormick? Which, there's a white house there
Across the street from them.
on Harness Road. Somebody tell me.
Is
Where,
this the
where Sil Finney lived, and it was the old Platten.
Methodist or something there? Is that the
Methodist
one that
church.
you told me about that was at the base of that hill, kind of across a little field like?
You had to go across the little bridge.
Uh-huh. It was like a little field or something?
I don't know. Frank went
This
over.
was like across from Red Brook Plantation House,
right
right?
across the street. There's a white house
I
there,
think this name
and that
is
was the old Platten Methodist Church.
Okay.
And
I
there-
think that building is gone, I'm not sure. but-
Artesia.
anyhow, there was a little
Artesia,
bridge there,
yeah,
and across the little creek,
Artesia.
and there was a cemetery in there.
Yeah, I haven't,
Look for
I think
names,
that's some kind of
AD,
Platten Methodist or
P-I-E-R-R-T-R,
Platten something
church.
church was in there or something.
Yeah, the White House was the church,
Yeah.
but this had nothing to do with the church.
James, William, John,
Okay.
There again, Frank went over and I didn't.
and then they've got Austin, Austin,
That type of-
Methodist with a G.
Where's ice cream, bloody murder? I
George,
guess.
another
Sure,
George.
knock me down.
This one?
No, no, no.
So when you and Frank went out also, how did
course I'm
you
short, too.
get the letters off of the stones? You put lime on it
Diane,
or,
Austin.
No, I think it's
We used,
K-I-N.
yeah,
Oh, that's what
so you
we're
sprinkled
talking about.
lime on it?
we'd take hands full of lime and go like this, and then we had a
Spelling names in these
uh,
guys.
real
See,
soft
this is
brush,
actually Leonard,
and we just,
so this
And
is
the stuff
how,
would stay in
and
there.
the end looks up here, this is
That's how you read the
mhm.
lettering on it.
Yeah.
We did it up at the
Yeah,
Harrington Cemetery one time.
I know it's supposed to be for
Some
Georgia.
friend of Frank's came
P.
through about 3
Now,
o'clock
this
the
is
next
an
morning.
I.
He was out hunting rabbits. And it was a full moon.
Yes.
Hunting rabbits at 3 in the morning.
I don't know what he was doing out there. Anyhow, he got to the cemetery. He didn't realize it was a cemetery, and then he saw all these white stones. And left. He went home.
I think those are theirs.
They were glowing.
Yes, yes. The old
She
ones,
gave you
uh,
those. She gave you those, right?
Well,
Those
now,
papers
does
right
anybody know
So
there
were you
was
up?
the
I think we're gonna have to
cemetery, the Harrington
here. You better
Cemetery?
ask her, cause she's gonna give back with
And then
that.
you go across,
You better tell Betty,
Z.
because she's gonna give them back with that copy and them.
and before you get to the fire department, you go up a hill.
This is in Peebly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Did
know.
they move those stones?
I know a guy that went out there. I told him I haven't been there, but I know what you're talking about. And the guy went out there, and he said that cemetery is in real poor condition. It's back on that, behind that house on a tree line or something
Yeah.
there.
And then you go across to Regma Road.
To where?
Regma, R-E-G-M-A, off of Hillsborough House Springs Road. And you go down that road, and
You
there's
talking
a-
about Regina Road?
well, depends upon what part of the county you come from.
Oh, okay. All right.
And,
Okay, I'm listening to this, but okay.
and then up on the hill behind one of those houses, there's another Harrington Cemetery.
Oh, that's that's on that Greek Orthodox property. I haven't been there. I've been out there
When did
and
that become Greek Orthodox?
it's some, is it Greek? Or maybe
It was just a house up there, a farmhouse.
there's some kind of Greek, Norma Fuchs was telling us about that. It's
Well,
called
she
the
would know it.
Ademeyer Harrington Cemetery or
Mhm.
something.
Is
Yeah.
that what it is?
I haven't, I went out there one time and there's like a compound of Greek.
Could Norma get you there? Could she take you there?
I went out there, and the guy that
So-
manages this, I call it a compound. It's a community of Greek.
Because it
people.
hasn't been recorded, right?
I don't think we recorded
She
it.
did, I think. I don't know that we have. it
Yeah,
in our
well,
records.
Norma's in that association that takes care of the Harrington Cemetery.
Sure.
Now, how many do we have to do?
Gobs.
Left to do?
Mm-hmm.
Oh gosh, we find them all the time. We found one just the other day. It's never been recorded.
Well, if you want to start trouble in Hillsborough, and I can think of a good place to start it, technically these little cemeteries that have been deserted are in the care of the county court.
Yes, and
Well, that'd stir up a hornet's nest.
Oh, you
Oh,
bet
yes.
it does.
yeah.
Howard Wagner used to run when he saw me coming. Just for that reason. Because, I mean.
I think they actually the state owns them now. Isn't that kind of the way the law went?
And it's a Class A misdemeanor to mess with them.
Deface them and yeah.
Of course,
you
I
been
think
down
that's what
to-
Norma is trying to do, is get a little tax increase to,
Yeah.
so the county court would have something to keep up these cemeteries.
Have you been
Well,
down
could
to the
waste
one
as much
where
money
Arch
they've
McKee
already
used to work?
got and use it.
Arch
Can't
McKee.
believe it.
On
Jerry?
Platten Road,
Yeah,
Arch McKee.
distant relative.
down in Platten, you know where Arch lived. And you go past his house, and then there's a big bunch of trees, and the road goes down like this.
Down the hill.
Yeah, there's a cemetery down in there.
You know her. Okay.
It belonged
Arch
to
is a descendant of
Sam Hildebrand.
Sam Hildebrand. He's on that line.
when we lived over there on that road, you know, it was nice because Arch was sheriff. And when the snow came, they'd always plow our road. Of course, we couldn't get out because they plowed the driveway full. But that's McLean down there. That's a McLean cemetery. And the McLean used to work at Pittsburgh, and Arch kept the cemetery up. And one day he went after him, the guy said, whose mother and father was there. He said, when are you going to come down and take care of your parents' cemetery? I don't have time. And he never did for that.
Also, do you ever remember one right in Horan? That may have been out of your area.
No,
your area.
there was something over there, and when I came through Horine the other day, I couldn't remember what it was.
Well, I found one that's in. It's like in the old town.
Orion
You know.
in Joachim Township?
It's right out of Peevely.
I don't know. But you know, I found one over there, but I have no information on it. You know, there was only a couple stones in it.
Yeah,
That's
there
real
was one there.
overgrown.
I didn't know, and as I said, I couldn't remember anything about it when I came through Horine the other day.
Have you ever heard of one on the Windsor Ride and Gun Club, just outside Peevely on Z Highway? I heard there may be a stone out in the middle of the field over there or something. Haven't had a chance to follow it up, but you know.
No.
Okay, what about Jerry? Where was that one at that we went looking for? And we was gonna get back to that guy on that farm down the end of that road, up by the quarry in Peevely there. Right there, there's that Dan's Towing right before you get to the firehouse in Peevely. There's a road.
Okay,
That's what I was talking
that's
about.
not up on the hill. You go on up that road, and whenever you get
Oh, I know,
Start
the
up there.
Martin House.
yeah, and you
The
turn,
Martin
it's over to
Cemetery.
the right, and it's not that far off of Z Highway. I asked Jack Kohler about that.
You go out toward what used to be the Girl Scout camp, didn't you? Or out toward Indian Foot Lake.
No,
No,
not you
this
don't
is
go
the-
that far.
No, I mean, that's the road you
You're
get
talking
on.
about the Vic
yeah.
Martin property?
Yeah.
The Vic Martin something? That's the one that's at the house on the corner of
Z and
Z and the Girl Scout Road.
Indian Rock?
Indian Foot
Indian
Lake.
Foot.
Indian Foot
Foot
Lake
Lake.
Road?
and
It's changed names so many times. I don't know what they call
well,
it
the
now.
road goes up to his house,
Mm-hmm. And it's behind his house.
and it's just over here. You
And
can
Victor
walk.
Martin has one on his property?
Mm-hmm.
It's
Oh.
a Dunklin one.
Really?
Have you gotten the Dunklin one down, three houses
Do we
down
have
from where
that
Frank
recorded?
The Millers?
Is that what it is?
Yeah, we did that one. Yeah, that was like right there on the bluff.
But there's a Fletcher, a Margaret Fletcher that's in there, I think.
Remember Millers, Jerry?
I'm trying
I
to
think Jerry went out there. I think it was just Millers, if I remember right.
I
That-
think
that
so.
all we just whatever stones were there. It was like some kids and
Yeah.
a man and a woman maybe.
yeah.
But I think she was a Fletcher.
Yeah, I
her
think
name-
she. Yeah, that's
Her
right. She
name
was.
was Margaret Fletcher.
Yeah, she was a Fletcher. Her maiden name.
And then there's one on the road going. Oh hell, where did he go from? comes out on, not hematite.
Victoria.
No, it's over in that town. Mrs. Gerber took us there. You start down the hill, and
The killer? Cemetery up from Joe Robinson?
yeah,
Where'd you
Yeah,
say
it's
it
up
now?
on-
That's
top
the
of
Smith
mine.
Cemetery, and there's no stones there, but we're trying to
It's
get,
Keller.
yeah, Mrs. Keller was the last burial there.
yeah, but there were,
Newman
when we went
was
through, there were stones there.
4 years old.
Well, they've all been destroyed.
And,
Do you remember I think it's a Donald Cemetery?
which one?
Okay, this one here, if you're in Hematite, you cross the creek and the road tees, and one, you go right to Sunnyside and left is Meyer
Yeah,
Road.
there's a different way, you're confused.
Okay, if you go up to the top of the hill, and it used to be the old highway that went back to Festus or something?
Let me find it. I finally figured out where it was the other day.
That's the one that the guy won't let us on the property.
That's when, Joe
Yeah,
Stroop's
well, see.
boys went, nephews went out and stole the tombstones. And he made him carry them back, and then we went over there,
He'd take us up there. I went up there, but it's been years ago.
47,
You
48.
know where?
They still live there?
Oh, no, George.
You come in from Hematite, you know.
Well, that's
She
the
was
way I
killing
come in.
the cars
Okay,
down on the street.
Hematite.
Oh my God, what year was it?
Yeah, it's this one here,
Yeah,
yeah.
I wonder if I
This,
didn't
yeah,
heard that now
Massive
that you
Road
say
here,
it.
okay.
well, we came in through
I
here.
can't remember. I was working.
But see,
I
the
was
guy that
working
owns it
up
lives
in
here,
Clayton
okay, and we
Enterprise.
asked him for
And
permission to go up and
coming
photograph
home,
it, he won't
and I
give us
had the
permission.
CD.
You got in the Burns that gone into?
Yeah,
And
that's
Rocky
Jerry's
saw the
farm.
Denny and Sherry was
Oh, is
with
it?
them.
Yeah,
And he said,
okay, there's supposed to be another one right up in here someplace, see, we haven't found that one.
Well, I hadn't heard about it. This is the no.
Yeah, no,
Shot that one. She gets on shot that.
well, it's actually,
No, it's on this side.
No.
No, it's on that, you're right on that
because
one.
you just follow this
Yeah.
road on down, and it's right in here.
That's
I
right.
remember that was a
Yeah,
long
and,
time ago, yeah.
You
We
see, I
haven't-
don't
we
know where
haven't
the
been to
Smiths,
Stroop yet. Haven't been there yet, Harrison isn't know.
We're gonna have a business meeting.
but the Donald one
I
was
think I
here.
do remember that.
We're gonna have a
Yeah, that's the
business
one,
meeting.
Yeah.
we located
Now,
it.
there's supposed to be two stones behind the dam where the Height family is.
Who owns that?
That's at Donald Cook. You know Donald Cook? Okay. Or not, was it Cook, Jerry?
Connors are there.
Connors, Donald Connors.
He's not the gambler, he used to be the gambler from,
I think he's a lawyer. I'm not sure.
I from talking to him, I had the impression he was a lawyer, but I don't know that.
well, if he is, he's a new lawyer that I don't know about.
Well, no, he's retired, so, and he may have been from St. Louis or something too, I don't know. But,
It's this one.
Yeah, we need to have our business meeting, folks.
That was Stroop's. I think he did that.
so are we done,
Over the stuff. It's almost 4 o'clock.
so,
No, that Stroop kid probably took them all home with him.
okay,
Now,
so,
there's Pleasant Valley, they used a lot of those stones in that Pleasant Valley one for the base of the barn.
they used tombstones
Oh, yes.
from
they-
Pleasant Valley Cemetery,
Uh-huh.
and that was located where?
Off CC.
Off CC. And they used it, and what did they use the tombstones in the basement for?
Make the base of the barn.
Okay, I'm not sure.
It was a banj, I think. Cemetery.
BAGE?
Yeah.
Okay, I think I might have heard that one. Well,
BANGE.
are we going to business meeting? Want to shut this off, or? We're done
Thank you,
talking
Jeannie.
cemeteries?
If we're gonna do any business,
We better do it.